the city of Windsor was the first city in Canada to have an electric streetcar, and that started in 1886. And it's one of those things that's extremely authentic to the city of Windsor's history. In fact, we had streetcars running in the city of Windsor between Windsor and Amherstburg out to Lakeshore. This was happening back in the 1800s before the city of Toronto even had streetcars on the road. And so this behind me, this streetcar, is one of the last 3 remaining streetcars that we know operated in the city of Windsor, starting in 1886, and then again they were decommissioned around 1937-38. They were of course all sold off, and this particular streetcar made its way to Bell River, and it was used as part of a cottage as someone's living room in Bell River until just a couple years ago when George Sophos and his partner Van Nifferis uncovered it and were successful in bringing it back to this location in Windsor. In my mind, and the call I made to George was shortly after we were doing the roundabout repair on Sandwich Street, the roundabout construction on Sandwich Street, when we uncovered rail lines from SW&A as they were digging up the road. And I asked at that time that the contractor save 2 50-foot sections of the rail line so that in case something came available like this here today, we had an opportunity to place an original car on the original track somewhere in the city of Windsor and tell the story and be proud of the history of this community. And not just statues, let's talk about a streetcar. Because there's been a lot of talk in the community about a streetcar. And why would we possibly take a streetcar and do something wonderful with it on our waterfront? We have a plan. We acquired it because guess what? In 1886, we were the first city in Canada to have an electric streetcar system. Not Toronto or Vancouver, not Calgary, not Montreal. Windsor, Ontario had that. And we had the chance to get this streetcar, and we're putting it on our waterfront as a showcase piece, as a beacon, because we want to showcase our history. We want to celebrate that. And I think that's something worth celebrating, and I hope you do too.
We're at the moment we're standing on the west side of car barn number 1, which was built in 1891. And car 351, which is inside, is getting ready to be pulled out to be sent for restoration. And this car operated in Windsor from 1926 to 1938. The car itself is a Cincinnati car built in 1918, so it's quite rare in the sense that I've been online, I cannot find another Cincinnati car of this model in anybody's collection in North America.
Hi, I'm Mario Van Ray. We're here at RM Auto Restoration in Blenheim, Ontario, and we're in the process of restoring the 1918 streetcar that used to ply the rails in Windsor, Ontario. We received the streetcar in rather great disrepair, and of rebuilding it from the ground up. What we have done is completed the steel chassis, the framework underneath of it, and we've got it painted. We've got the steel structure, the foundation, as you would say, under the car pretty much completed. And we're in the process right now of rebuilding the wood structure or the framework above the car, which includes making the posts, doing the wood floor, putting the rafters, you might call them, or car purlins, car lines as they're called. Electric streetcars were very, very important in the development of towns and cities in the early 1900s. They were called radial railways, and the reason they were called radial railways is because it would radiate out from the city center normally and would bring people to shop, people to work, people for entertainment into town and help build the core of the city and radiate it out. There is a lot of highly skilled people who had worked on these cars back, and when this car was built in 1918. The joinery in a streetcar is very different, where the joinery is not necessarily held super tight together. It is not glued, it's pinned together. There had to be some flexibility in the structure to prevent it from cracking. It could not be too rigid, simply because it was going down the rails. It was moving, shaking, that type of thing. So for the most part, the car is put together with mortise and tenon joints that are not glued, but they're pinned. Joinery or fasteners that are allowed to be flexible, to move a little bit. The way the windows are put together The windows, of course, are structurally held together with mortise and tenon and glue, and also brass guides on the outside of them, because they had to be kept solid, and yet they had to be able to move within their framework as the car moved, but not break the glass or still function up and down. So there was different methods used in different areas, but it was very unique for a streetcar construction. During our disassembly of the car, we found scrolls, and these are signs that were on the roof of the car, and they were on either side, and what the conductor would do, or the motorman as they called him at the time, would use a crank handle and scroll them to the next stop. But the scrolls were still intact when we disassembled the streetcar, which was very significant because it showed all the different cities and stops that the car did, which in this particular car obviously traveled quite some distance. It was considered one of the faster cars. It had one of the larger motors on it to move it along quicker between small towns at the time, and it's just very good evidence of where it traveled in its life.
Here we are with streetcar number 351, the last remaining one of this type that's rolled down Windsor Street back in the 1900s. It's been a privilege, been an honor to work on it. Thousands of people rode these cars throughout Windsor's past. We spent a lot of time going through historical stuff and talking to Windsor's historian, trying to gain enough knowledge to rebuild it using its pictures or pictures of other cars similar to it. It's mostly constructed of wood, ash and cherry. There's hundreds of pieces per, even just the doors alone. There's 160 pieces that make up each of the doors that open and close, or open and closed every day, that ran up and down the street. Trying to make all that stuff fit and recreate what it looked like. This 351 will be one of the best known examples of this type of car in the world. And Windsor will be proud of it, and our children and grandchildren will be proud to see it for years to come.